Hi all, Rajiv Gandhi was one of the youngest prime ministers in the world. Let's get to know how the young wind cherished a nation.
Rajiv Gandhi is known as the youngest Prime Minister of India. He was the grandson of India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, and the son of India's Lady Prime Minister, Indira Gandhi. He was well educated at the University of Cambridge, which was situated in the United Kingdom. He started his career as a pilot for Indian Airlines. After the assassination of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, he was elected as the new Prime Minister of India when he was 40 years old, and he was also assassinated when he was 46 years old, like Indira Gandhi. After becoming the PM of India, he started to find ways to develop India as a modern country. He gave more importance to science and technology. Most of the central government offices, including railways, were computerized, and it was the start of a new revolution from India to digital India. Rajiv Gandhi is called the father of technology and the telecom revolution of India. He is rightfully known as the architect of digital India. Rajiv Gandhi always tried to empower the youth of India. As a part of this, he took on the managerial role at the Asian Games hosted by India. The 61st Amendment Act of the Constitution was passed in 1989, lowering the voting age from 21 years to 18 years. This move was a breakthrough in Indian politics, and it continues in the new generation as well. Timeline of Rajiv Gandhi as Prime Minister of India. Let's start in 1984 and end in 1991. In 1984, Rajiv Gandhi becomes the Prime Minister of India. In 1985, Gandhi's first action as Prime Minister was passing the anti-defection law in January 1985. According to this law, an elected member of parliament or legislative assembly could not join an opposition party until the next election. The Terrorist and Disruptive Activities Prevention Act came into effect after presidential assent. Indira Gandhi National Open University was established by an act of the Indian Parliament. The Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, passed by Parliament, came into force. In 1986, new economic growth in India. The Indian economy was experiencing new growth. Inflation was under control, and the trade deficit has also been reduced significantly. L.M. Singhvi Committee and Panchayati Raj. The committee was appointed by the Government of India in 1986 with the main objective of recommending steps to revitalize the Panchayati Raj systems for democracy and development. The National Policy on Education, NPA, was adopted by Parliament as a part of this. With NPE in place, residential schools called Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalayas, under the central government, were set up to bring out the best of rural talent. These schools provide free residential education from grades 6 to 12 to the rural population. Now let's listen to one of his speeches. Speech on World Environment Day, after planting a tree for peace, Shaktisthal, New Delhi, 5th June 1986, part of the speech translated from Hindi.
It is appropriate that today, when we planted a tree for peace, we planted it at Shaktisthal. Indira ji perhaps did more than any other world leader to bring about an awareness among the people of our environment and the dangers of depleting the environment for short-term developmental gains. Indira ji's work for protecting the environment has brought about a great degree of awareness in India about the dangers that we will face if we destroy our environment. Today, our people no longer tolerate the destruction of the environment in exchange of some major developmental projects. Today, there is a cry to protect the environment and to compensate for any damage that a particular developmental work might do. In planting a tree we give life. Trees are more than mere symbols of the environment. They help retain moisture in the soil. conserve the topsoil and prevent the water running off the top surface. Perhaps, most of all, they attract rain and keep our life cycle going. In planting a tree, we express gratitude to nature. We give back a little bit from so much that we have taken. It is an expression of love, of concern of one's fellow beings, for life on earth. Nature is bountiful, but if we do not preserve our environment, if we do not renew our resources, there is a grave danger that we will deplete nature to an extent from which we will not be able to recover. There is no dichotomy between protecting the environment and development. They go hand in hand. Conservation means the protection of not just the environment, but also of those life-sustaining cycles which keep man alive. Tree felling, encroachments into forests, have led to erosion of our soil, waterlogging, salinity, alkalinity in soil. We have turned good lands into wastelands, leading to more difficulties and more hardships for the people in the rural areas, in our villages. The task for us today is to reverse this trend. We have, through the National Wasteland Development Board, started a number of programs, but perhaps the most important aspect is an involvement of all our people in this task, an involvement that will cut across all regions, all languages, all castes, all creeds, cut across all social and other divisions in our society. The group we would like to start with is the young children in schools and increase that involvement down the line to include every section of our people. We have to see that this movement becomes a mass movement. A regeneration of the wastelands is more than just reclaiming the wastelands, it is a regeneration of the life-giving environment, it is a regeneration of the very heart of rural India. If we want to save India, if we want to eradicate poverty, it is necessary for us to protect our environment in every way. It is often thought that it is the poor, the Adivasis, who cut down the forests, and every now and then, the government comes down on them with a heavy hand. But the Adivasis have been living in close proximity to the forests for thousands of years, and the forests have not been destroyed, they have not disappeared. It is when others come into the forests and begin to use them for mercenary and commercial purposes that forests become endangered, the environment becomes endangered. It should be our endeavor to provide for the legitimate needs of the poor people who dwell in the forests or near the forests. The village women are reeling under a great burden. They have to carry loads of firewood for cooking and fodder for the cattle over long distances. Our effort should be to make these available to them in a way that does not put a strain on our forests. We should strive, with all our might, to put the forests back into shape. We shall need saplings, millions and millions of them, we shall need seeds in great quantities. Our scientists will have to exert all their energy to make these available. We must see to it that in the coming years, we bring under tillage large tracts of land that are at present fallow. The severe drought conditions that we see today, the great hardships they entail for the poor of the country, have to be remedied. The incessant march of the desert has got to be stopped. This can be done by securing the cooperation of the people. I have been to numerous places, and I have seen with my own eyes how great schemes of afforestation came to nothing when the saplings planted soon withered from lack of care or were eaten up by cattle or uprooted by people. But I have seen to that wherever the villagers were associated with the program, such things have not happened. We saw in Rajasthan where trees were planted on a large scale to stop the march of the desert, that, even though the plants were protected by a wire fence, roaming animals nevertheless managed to destroy a large number of them. But in other places where the villagers had been associated with the effort, There were no wire fences put up, no walls raised, and yet the plants showed no damage. The villagers themselves came forward to protect the plants from the ravages of goats and cattle, for they had been made aware that if the plants were not saved, the inexorable march of the desert would overtake their homes. We must resolve here at this Shaktisthal to unite our people for the furtherance of this task. It is appropriate to adopt such a resolution here because Indiraji always showed a special interest in environment.
1987, the Indolanka Agreement, signed by Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi and President J.R. Jayawardene in Colombo on 29 July 1987. 1988, Shri Rajiv Gandhi ji became the first PM of India to visit China in over 30 years. 1989, the Indian National Congress, Indira, government, under the premiership of Rajiv Gandhi, lost its mandate, even though it was still the largest single party in the Lok Sabha. 1991, assassination of a smart and young politician, Rajiv Gandhi, who made India proud in the world. Now let's get ready to see Rajiv Gandhi not only as the Prime Minister but also as the greatest personality who served a nation with bravery and hard work for development. A personality that changed everything in a country. A one-man army who fought against whatever came to stop him from anything that he decided to finish. I would like to welcome all of you to see the next upcoming content in your imaginations only. The Great Indian Politics and Rajiv Gandhi. India is a sovereign socialist secular democratic republic with a parliamentary form of government that is federal in structure with unitary features. There is a council of ministers with the Prime Minister as its head to advise the President, who is the constitutional head of the country. Similarly, in states, there is a council of ministers with the Chief Minister as its head, who advises the governor. This section provides insight into Indian governance and administration at the central, state, and local levels. Information about the Constitution of India, Parliament and Legislature, Union administration, state, district, and local administrations is given. Members of Lok Sabha, the House of the People, or the lower house of India's Parliament, are elected by being voted upon by all adult citizens of India who have crossed the age of 18 from a set of candidates who contest in their respective constituencies. Every adult citizen of India can vote only in their constituency. Candidates who win the Lok Sabha elections are called Member of Parliament and hold their seats for 5 years or until the body is dissolved by the President on the advice of the Council of Ministers. The House meets in the Lok Sabha chambers of the Sansad Bhavan in New Delhi on matters relating to the creation of new laws or removing or improving the existing laws that affect all citizens of India. Elections take place once every 5 years to elect 543 members for the Lok Sabha. Now we have to look into the first action of Rajiv Gandhi after becoming the Prime Minister of India. Gandhi's first action as Prime Minister was passing the anti-defection law in January 1985. According to this law, an elected member of parliament or legislative assembly could not join an opposition party until the next election. So this law was something against the democracy of Indian politics. According to this law, any member of Congress was not allowed to leave the party until he finished 5 years of his service as Prime Minister. If you can see something like a prison for all the other members, then that might be an illusion. So people were frustrated inside the parliament for 5 years. After the Terrorist and Disruptive Activities Prevention Act came into action, he gave all his support to the telecommunications field to develop and grow inside the country and worldwide. There he got the evidence of his mother's assassination, and he was getting to know what was happening in the party and around him. The Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, passed by Parliament, came into force. So he came to know the underground business that was held inside the country and spotted the enemies. He empowered the national security system, and most of these bugs vanished from the country. In May 1988, Gandhi launched Operation Black Thunder to clear the Golden Temple in Amritsar of arms and gunmen. Two groups called the National Security Guard and Special Action Group were created. They surrounded the temple in a 10-day siege during which the extremists' weapons were confiscated. Everything was under the strict orders and decisions of a brave Prime Minister. After 5 years, Congress lost most seats in the presidential election. This election was a release for the people who were in Rajiv Gandhi's prison for the last 5 years. Most of them left the party and joined the opposite party. Maybe Rajiv was winning inside him as a lovable son for his assassinated mother. He was well aware of the attack planned when he was assassinated. No one could stop a person like Rajiv from being a soldier for his country.